Looks like we're live.
Whoa!
Everybody. All right. So hello, everybody out there. Thank you for joining us today. I'm John Graves. I'm the Director of Operations here at ArtistWorks. Welcome to this month's ArtistWorks Live, and today we're going to be talking with Daryl Enger, who is our online bluegrass fiddle teacher here at ArtistWorks. We're going to be taking questions from you guys, the audience, so please get those questions ready. And please include your student name with the question, and you could qualify to win a little prize at the end of our conversation here. So let me introduce our guest here. During the last 40 years, this man has been moving string music forward with his work with the David Grisman Quintet, the Turtle Island String Quartet, the Republic of Strings, many more. He's been teaching online at ArtistWorks since June of 2011. He's joining us today live from Woodstock, New York. Welcome, Daryl Enger. How are you?
I'm doing great. All this new technology seems to be working. We had to pound on it pretty hard to make it happen, but thanks to John and Adam and the amazing crew at ArtistWorks, we are live from the Woodstock the historic Woodstock Playhouse in Woodstock, New York, home of folk music in general. We're doing a show tonight with Happy Traum, another great pioneer of music education, and John Sebastian will be with us. And the person I'm really excited about right here with me, is a former student of mine, Kathleen Parks, one of the best fiddle players that I know of. And if I could possibly embarrass her anymore, I would, but I can't think of anything right now. I think our best bet at this point is to play some music. And I was thinking that it might be nice to play something called the Cherokee Shuttle, which is dedicated to our brave shuttle pilots. Okay, well, some of you may know as the Cherokee Shuffle, also the Shuffle pilots. Okay, featuring a shuffle. We're going to start with the shuffle, and then we're going to shuttle through to the rest of the tune. Here we go. Kathleen, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, here we go.
Beautiful. Love it. Love it. Very cool. So thank you guys for that, Cherokee Shuttle. So let me quickly remind the audience that the questions are coming solely from you guys, the viewers. So although time will probably only permit to get to some of these, start sending them in now. We'll hit as many as possible. And like I said, if you include your student name, then we can qualify you to get a little prize at the end of our conversation here. And it's going to be a great hour. So first, before I get into these questions while they roll in, Daryl, maybe you can tell us just a little bit more about where you are and what's going on at this event.
Yeah, well, we are at the historic Woodstock Playhouse in Woodstock, New York, home of many old folk musicians, many whose names that you know. This is a fantastic, it's a great music town, little town way up on the Hudson River, north of New York City, where a lot of musicians who used to live in Greenwich Village now live. Like John Sebastian, Happy Traum, some of the jazz musicians, some great jazz musicians like Ron Carter and other great people who probably would prefer that I don't reveal their names, live up. So in fact, Bob Dylan had a house just less than a mile from where friends of ours live now, but who knows where Bob lives. Bob lives on the road now, so he's nowhere and everywhere at the same time. But here we are. We're going to play a nice holiday show tonight, and we have a big crew. And so this is just kind of very fortuitous because have here, Kathleen, who is a former student, as I said, and one of the people that is really going to be shaping and defining the role of fiddle in any kind of music at all for the next 40 years. And I'm not planning to go anywhere immediately, but after 40 years, I'm like, whoa, okay, well, yeah, I guess I'm here. All right. So yeah. So anyway, so I have a question for Kathleen actually. How did you get to when did you start? What got you started fiddling? Why?
Let's see. Well, my father is a jazz trumpet player, and he just really he could see from an early start that I was really into music. My feet were tapping to the beats of, like Earth, Wind, and Fire in the car and stuff. But anyway, I started at 5 and started with Suzuki, classic Suzuki.
Yeah.
I started. I was Irish step dancing at the time, up till the age of 10. And around 10, I asked my mom, I really like Celtic music. I think I want to try that on the fiddle. I want to learn how to fiddle. And so then I started taking Irish fiddle lessons with Brian Conway from White Plains, New York, and did that for about 5 years.
Now, when you came to Berkeley, that's what you did. You were already a terrific Celtic fiddler.
Yeah, that was what I was mostly doing when I started at Berkeley.
I got to see you do your first, final exam, where you played a bunch of Celtic fiddle, and then you did a Charlie Parker solo.
Oh yeah.
You just you somehow memorized it, and you just played the crap out of it. It's just like, wow, okay.
That's
man.
awesome.
Wanted to learn how to swing, play those out licks.
Cool. So yeah, and so now Kathleen does everything. I've run out of stuff to teach her, and she's out on her own playing even more amazing stuff. That's how it's supposed to be.
Great. Well, hey, so let's start off with some of these questions from the students that are coming in. Thank you guys again for sending them. So Greg Peck is asking, can someone who doesn't read music learn to play bluegrass on your site, Daryl?
Absolutely. Bluegrass was started by people that did not read music. That doesn't mean that you can know structure, and know notes. You can know what the notes are. I think that's really important. You have to know how chords are put together and know the names of the notes, but you don't necessarily have to read music in order to play bluegrass.
Okay.
But it's a complicated, there's things to it. You just don't start out playing a tune, right? I mean, you can start playing a tune, but fiddling is just part of bluegrass. You also have to be able to play, play the same tune. Right? It's really to be able to move, know how to move these things around on the fingerboard, because we have singers.
Yes.
Right. All right, great. Let's see. Jay Downen is asking about figure eight bowing. He said, what is figure eight bowing?
You want to take that?
Figure eight.
Figure eight bowing. Right. This is like an Appalachian bowing style, right? That's kind of, yeah, right? It's like that thing that Bruce Walensky does so well.
Like that?
Yeah. So the reason we do this, right, and what's happening there, it's figure eight because you can see that my hand is making a figure eight. Now, what happens with that is that we get the sound of it is we get a pulse, right? We get that. Right, so what we're doing, we're getting that pulse inside the melody of whatever we're doing for Appalachian music, Appalachian fiddling mostly, but you do that in just about every style of fiddling. It happens in Swedish fiddling, it happens in Texas fiddling. It doesn't happen as much, but you come on. Right, that kind of thing.
Right.
So it's kind of you're crossing the string, you're getting a pulse in between to get more rhythm out of whatever the melody is. So that's, and that there's other ways to do that too. Not only doing that, but you can also get a pulse by merely squeezing your first finger and your thumb. And that's the way I do it a lot. Slightly different sounds, so it's nice to be able to do both of them.
Right. Cool. All right. So this next one is from Barefoot Kenny. Maybe Kathleen can start us with this one. So how do you break down the lead line in your playing to back up the chords that continue throughout the song?
Well, it kind of comes down to knowing the skeleton of your melody. So the tune we just played, Cherokee Shuffle. So it's what's a simpler way to get yourself improvising on that? More like da 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 da, so over that A chord.
You want me to play the melody?
Yeah.
So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. So this, so you kind of have to know the chords.
Yeah, know the chords, know your basic outline of your melody, and then being able to add to that in your own, putting your own voice to it.
Part of that is kind of knowing how to generate a harmony, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you know the melody, then you know that you don't want to play the melody if somebody else is playing the melody. But if you play a harmony,
starting on your third of the melody.
You maybe play it low in the instrument, right? So if I played that, again, if I did the melody, 2, 3, and. That is so beautiful!
drums.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So by knowing your melody and then knowing the chord progression, you can kind of move in and out between the two, and maybe would even be a good way of constructing a solo or something as well.
It's a good way to do it, especially if you can kind of skeletalize that melody, find the important notes, because you don't want every detail of the melody. It probably be like gospel, but
yeah, and then I think from there, trying to come up with like your own variations of the melody can really help you start for like learning how to improvise. Because it's your voice, you're the one who's making the statement, so you want to like come up with your own like variation. So like, how can we do that differently? We can do, like maybe, I don't know, just start simple like that. Just start with like a phrase, like just that first phrase. Yeah, cool. That's what
very good, very good. All right, so the next question is, so I'm very busy with a full-time job. What do you think is the best way to establish a productive practice routine that will help me to continue to improve?
This is, a problem that so many people, we all have, even professional musicians, you're trying to keep the wolf from the door. There's insurance, there's the kids, the whatever, trying to keep yourself fed. So many things demands on our time. I always think about the idea of the box of rocks, right? There's a metaphor where you have a bunch of little rocks and a couple of giant big rocks, right? And if you got and a bucket, right? So you want to get all the rocks in the bucket, right? And if you put all the little rocks in first and then try to get the big rocks in, you usually can't get them in because the big rocks take up too much space. But if you put the two big rocks in the bucket first and then all the little rocks, drop them around it, you can get everything in. So what are your big rocks? Big rocks are your music and your job, whatever it is that you need to survive, right? But keep the instrument out. Try to do, touch the instrument first before anything else. Go in there, before you've even had your coffee or your shower, and just play for 10 minutes. Touch the instrument. This was something that Stefan Grappelli told me. If I do not have the time, but if I just put my hand on the instrument, if I just touch it, it helps, and that it does, have the instrument where you can reach it and just be able to even that much, just to refamiliarize yourself with the instrument. Keep finding, 30 seconds, 45 seconds to just, let yourself, just play, set your fingers. That helps a lot, or just basically playing a rhythm. Whatever, some of us are challenged by the left hand. That's my particular problem area. And some of us are hand, the rhythm. So Kathleen doesn't have any of those problems at all, but some of us do, and so just whatever it is that you're challenged by, try to make sure that you do a little bit of that.
Right. That's great. Kathleen, do you have anything to add to that? What are some of your problem areas and how do you approach them?
I really like that. I like the idea of having the instrument out. I actually, when I started at Berklee, I was getting really overwhelmed with school and like the amount of work. And some days I was like, oh my goodness, I haven't practiced today. And I started leaving my instrument out on a little violin stand. And I noticed as soon as I came home, I saw it and I just would grab it and I would just play for a little bit and I'd be like, okay, I feel like warmed up, I'm gonna get back to like, this other thing I have to do. And I think like having that out, but also just like create like a little schedule for yourself. Like when you get home from work, like, oh, I'm gonna have dinner. If you can, maybe your schedule changes. But like if it changes every day and you see a pattern, just trying to find that little bit, like maybe 30 or 45 minutes a day. Just getting it in there. I think that'll help.
So let me add something to that question then, because I like kind of what you guys are touching on. So we've talked about continuing to find ways to practice, but I guess how do you continue to, this may sound odd, but how do you continue to love it? How do you continue to make it exciting rather than just kind of picking up and like, okay, I went through my scales for the day, or is it learning new tunes? Is it exploring new things? Improvisation? How do you continue to keep it exciting so that you can't wait to get back to your instrument at the end of a long day when maybe you don't have any energy left?
Yeah, what you want to balance. If you think of it as a meal, if you're like, you gotta do the vegetables. Maybe a little meat. Like a transcription of a solo you're trying to get. And then there's a dessert, Give yourself a minute or two to just play something just like howl out on it. Whatever it is, play something is already fun, and like end with that, so that I'm going toward my happy spot.
Right. I like that. That's good.
I like to put on some of my favorite musicians and play along with their records. And if I have like a certain thing that I'm working on, like whether it be like a certain scale pattern, I like to just play along to the record and just play it anywhere I can. And like that's still practicing the pattern that I was going to practice alone in a cold place. Feeling bad about it. And now I have this awesome bass player and a great guitar playing along with me, and it makes it really fun.
That is such a huge I completely forgot about that, Jody, but that is such an important thing. Play along with recordings that you love is a thing to do. And it's something that I really did a lot of. In fact, even when I got with David Grisman, he said, yeah, I do that all the time. Let's do it. Let's play along with the Kenny Baker record. And we did. We both just sat there and played along with Kenny Baker. And David Grisman, I was like, oh man, this is amazing. I'm playing along with a Kenny Baker record with David Grisman. Like, whoa,
That's great. Great. Thank you for that. So Michael Newman is asking, please talk about your approach learning a new song and furthermore then memorizing it for a performance.
Oh, yeah. Learning and then memorizing?
Learning a new tune, maybe stepping outside your comfort zone, maybe it's something that's challenging for you, and then kind of taking it to the next step and preparing it for performance.
Cool. Well, that's an interesting thing because you can learn something, and then you go to a different place, a different building, or a different room, and standing instead of sitting, and it'll just completely disappear again. It's like, isn't that wild? I know, you think you know something, and then you just like, the lights are different.
Or you like just change the way you're holding your head. Like all of a sudden you're looking up, and it's like, I'm not looking at the instrument. I have no idea how it goes. Oh my gosh, there it is.
It's a trip, isn't it? And it's something that we all experience. So that is, as you learn a piece, you want to make sure that you try just move to a different room, stand, walk around, and do that kind of thing. And that's going to really help you kind of nail the feeling of really knowing the piece. It's just being in a different environment. It's weird, but really important. So that kind of thing is super important. And then just being able to kind of keep in your mind the structure, of what's going on. Like either, okay, I'm in the A part now, it's like, I'm halfway through the A part. I'm almost at the end of it. I'm going to repeat the A part, right? And then, okay, I'm about to go to the B part. Halfway through the first half of the B, right? Just kind of keeping yourself oriented within the structure of what's going on in the tune. You don't have to yell it out, but in fact, I am terrible at that. The idea that you're kind of aware of where you are, and rather than just letting your fingers do muscle memory and drag it through. Because muscle memory is super important, but it's not gonna, there's things that disrupt muscle memory that you have to be able to, power through.
Yeah. Plus then, also if you're in a constant, like the same way of playing something, then that oftentimes the piece like no longer can breathe. It's always very just like stagnant, and you can't create like dynamics. It like can get
So you think maybe
Like kind of
different
stuff.
speed?
Yeah, I like one thing when I'm trying to memorize something. I really like to play in different speeds and different grooves. Just like maybe say it's a bluegrass tune. Instead of like the bluegrass groove against it, I like to try and like break it down and just make it slower and just a little groovier. Maybe swing it a little differently. Yeah. And then as far as like learning and trying to memorize, I really like to start by trying to sing the part that I'm trying to learn or having trouble with. I'll just try to sing along with the recording, or I'll be on the subway and I'll be like, I'm gonna listen to that thing I've been working on at home and it's just not coming together. Let me just see if I can remember it now and like listen to it on the subway and see if I can kind of like hum along.
And those of you that are familiar with my lessons on ArtistWorks know all about me ranting endlessly about your utility vocal. We don't have to be, Kathleen, you're a great singer, but not all of us are great singers. We didn't get into this business necessarily to be singing, but as utility vocalists, being able to just, honk through it, la la la, right? It's not performance ready, but still, we want to exercise that vocal part of our brain. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So on that note, I have a question here. It's actually, I really like it. It's from Mary Tanzer. She says, and this may put you guys on the spot a little bit, but it says, could you play a fiddle version of your favorite Christmas song?
Oh, yeah.
That sounds like so much fun.
Yeah.
She says, we have snow here in New Hampshire and I'm feeling festive.
Okay. Let's see.
You're great.
What's your favorite Christmas song?
Let's see.
Let's make up a favorite Christmas song. How about Away in a Manger?
Manger. Away in a
Gerald Manger. Okay. We'll see if we can ruin Away in a Manger for you guys.
Sorry. There we go.
So how about we do this in, how about in D? Let's do it in D. And we could do it as a waltz, which it is, or we could do it as a reggae piece. Away in a manger,
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Wanna
up
try it? Yeah. So if it's in D, we start with the one chord, which is D, and then we're just gonna see if we can pull this off. Everybody knows this song, so we're just gonna make it a little different, fiddleize it a little bit. Would you like to start with the melody?
was awesome.
Yay!
Very nice. So tell us a little bit about what you did there.
Well, we
It seemed like it was just kind of right on the spot. You guys haven't rehearsed that, but it sounded awesome. So how do two players come together and do something so well that they've never practiced before?
Well, luckily Kathleen and I have worked together for, man, it's been like 4 years now. We've played together. We've done all kinds of things. So we kind of we know kind of what the other person is going to do. You get to know somebody, and I think everybody, who jams with friends, kind of knows that. So that's the first thing. And then, of course, we knew the tune, that's so important. And that's the great thing about these Christmas songs. Everybody kind of knows them. And we were able to, figure out the structure. It's only got one part, which is nice. It didn't have two parts. We only had to worry about the one section, right? So that was cool. And then just, okay, well, the melodies. Right, so we knew that we were going to go back and forth. That's just kind of a thing, like first Kathleen would play the melody, through part, and then I play the melody. We do that a lot. That's one thing that we used to do when we were, doing lessons and things like that. You just, two people, one person plays the lead, the other person learns how to accompany. So that was the first thing. So I knew that, chords, and we're going back and forth. And then, of course, the time that we spent working on varying the melody. But that was the form, Kathleen leads, then I lead, and Kathleen, then I lead, and then it seemed like we went through it even number of times. So each of us got 2 hits to, be the king or the queen of the melody. And then the last time, it just seemed like the thing to do to just make it a little choral group and just harmonize. And I knew that Kathleen was going to be on the melody, and I was just playing something that kind of works. And the great thing about this kind of melody, right? All those kind of double stops work so beautifully with a tune like this. And again, I've just got a bunch of whole new double stop lessons up on my online school where we talk all about how to use these kind of double stops and other ones too. So not to be boldly commercial, but it is Christmas, and that's one of the reasons that we're here, is to help musicians, and here we are doing that.
Very cool. It's very cool. So
yeah, what's my
Lisa Jacoby is asking, she says, mine is an advanced technique question. I'd really like to hear and see an example of contrary motion.
Wow. Okay. Well, can we deliver? I believe we can. Well, that's what we just played would be a perfect example of it, because that whole beginning part of the way in a major is a descending melody, right? It comes right down the scale. So if we let's see if we can pull this up. Let's see if you play the melody. Can you go way up there? Yeah. And so if we, now, okay, the question is, where are you going to start? If we start on the same note, 1, 2, 3.
Very
wow.
Cool.
Okay.
Wow.
That worked. Thank goodness. That doesn't always work, but with these kind of, and especially with fiddle tunes and diatonic, pieces that are in the same key, there are things about the structure of stuff that's in the same key that it almost plays itself if you know the secrets of that, and that involves knowing your modes, all the different ways that. Right, all these different scales that come out of one major scale, and how these work. And again, right, that kind of thing. So, the trick with this stuff is to try to pick music that stuff that is that does have a direct, melodically is clear enough so that you can kind of do this stuff on the fly. And of course, you can always like make something up and write it down if it's a little more complicated. But certainly with a tune like that, you look for
scale patterns and like arpeggios.
Yeah.
Going down, going up, and it's easy to create contrary motion.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of another fiddle tune that has that nice melody. Like the second part of Soldier's Joy, right? Right? So I could go 1, 2, 3, and. So because those are pretty clearly, they're going in a direction, those melodies. So those kind of are really good for that kind of stuff. But you have to kind of identify, if the melody's going to be clear enough to really be able to really work.
Right.
So,
cool. Yeah. Cool. All right. So this one is from Barbara. Very complimentary question. I like it. So Daryl, I started listening to your playing right after the David Grisman Quintet recording came out. Your artistry on the recording is phenomenal. How do you prepare to improvise in that style?
Wow. Well, that was, especially that first record, that is the sound of one very scared fiddle player who was really trying to play, not make any mistakes. And
right.
After about, 30 years, I was able to get to the point where I could have a little bit more fun recording, but, so much of recording is just trying not to screw up. You don't want, because the mistakes are the things that sort of stand out, and then you're living with them for the rest of your life, if you're lucky or unlucky, depending on whatever, But thank you for that. That was a very beautiful compliment. And when, I think the thing that was the most important for me to prepare, and I think for any kind of music and for any kind of improvising, is that you want to know the structure of the tune. And particularly with the pieces that we were playing with DGQ, most of them were in a minor key, right? So, and that's not, the usual thing for, if you're playing bluegrass fiddle tunes. I mean, there's minor chords, but generally you don't get a lot of it. Right, all these C minor, D minor, G minor. So it's really important to, kind of make sure that, people, when we start fiddling, we play a lot in major notes. Always, mostly major. I mean, there might be a couple of minor, like E minor or something. But generally, for me, I really needed to learn my minor scales and really get comfortable. And for me, that meant playing those kind of those kind of little exercises that kind of get you comfortable with playing in those kind of keys. And so that was sort of the thing that was the crux of what needed to happen. And I'm kind of as you know, sort of a sequence guy. That's my path into improvising is, playing these little those kind of things. I think it's from, maybe playing Bach. I loved playing Bach. And all those kind of things where you play the same shape going up or down the scale. And that, for me, was a way of getting some facility and vocabulary. And everybody's different with that, but that was my way of doing it. Yeah. I don't know. How about you? As far as improvising, just getting to where you could just improvise other stuff. There must have been a thing that because you were playing all that Celtic music. There's not a lot of improvising.
Yeah.
But a little bit of detail. You're always changing the ornaments. Right?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah, in Celtic music, you're always finding like little variations to like change up the tune a little bit, But the way I guess I got into like improvising was I found one of my favorite improvising Celtic fiddle players, Eileen Ivers, and I like knew the tune she was playing, but she was just like going out of the tune, always coming back into it. So I found those recordings and I just memorized them. I like learned every note on her Wild Blue album.
Wow.
I love that one.
That's
but
great.
that was kind of like one thing that helped me get into it.
Great. Okay, so we have time for just a few more here. Rob wrote in. He said, I play guitar but want to start learning other stringed instruments. Recently bought a mandolin tuned D, G, A, E. Is it typically an easy transition from mandolin to violin, and can I apply the same scale shapes?
Yeah, the left-hand stuff, is easy. In fact, once you get off a mandolin onto violin, it's like, so because it's just it's, I gotta press it.
Like that.
And with violin, you barely have to press anything down. The trick is, of course, going from the pick to the bow is a whole different, and the other way too. If you're getting into the inlet and going to pick, it's like a whole thing.
Right hand technique.
Yeah.
Transition.
I kind of left the violin when I was in my early teens and went to guitar and had to learn the pick thing, for a while. So I kind of can do both. A little better at the bowing than I am at the picking, but yeah. The idea that, really this whole thing about, and I do a lot of this on the lesson series. It's just letting the bow, I don't know how many of you all do, yoga or meditation, breathing, but a lot of meditation and yoga is about observing the breath. You breathe in, breathe out, you're like conscious of the breath. And to me, this is just like the breath. You're constantly observing the constantly changing. It's like watching a sunrise or something. Everything is changing all the time, every moment. If there's a difference, the way the balance is changing, how you're manipulating the balance of the bow and keeping everything just smoothly changing. And that's, this could be so boring unless you're really right there. You're present for the constantly shifting, colors, of how the balance is changing. And so I think that's, really the thing. It's like going to the bow.
Yeah. Great. And Rob actually meant to say G, D, A, E, but we all knew what he said.
Yeah.
So while we're on the topic of kind of violin and mandolin and the relationship there, Richard Kettles is asking about, so what's the difference between a violin neck and a mandolin neck in size, and why is there a difference if the tuning is the same?
Well, the mandolin neck is like a little bit thicker. Plus, it's got
More strings.
yeah, it's got double the strings.
Yeah, so you need more room for the 8 strings to be
Yeah.
in there. That's about the only reason why it's.
And there, maybe there's a little bit more tension on that thin neck with 8 strings instead of 4, right?
A lot more. Double.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a consideration too.
Okay, so I'm going to try to cram just a few more in here. Thank you guys so much for staying with us. So this is from James Grady. His username is JamG53. In a straight ahead small jazz setting, are there ways to play the basic 1-3 and 1-5 fiddle chords without interfering with the bass player?
Yeah, you can do it. you could take more of a like a piano approach where you're just going, you're just popping them in, on the beat or a little bit off the beat. I would say that in a straight ahead jazz setting, I would try not to play the 1. I would play the 3 and the 7, right? Those are the important notes in the jazz. I go into this pretty heavily in the jazz portion of my online lessons where I actually have set up some voicing, some suggested voices for things like rhythm changes and blues changes. But for instance, if we're talking about a G chord, then the important notes for us, not being the bass, are they're like the 3 and the 7, right? Because 3 tells us whether or not it's a major or minor chord, and 7 tells us whether we are in the tunnel of the dominant position, right? Which is what jazz is mostly about. So that means we're playing something called a tritone, right? And if you can see what I'm doing here, I'm just the tritone is I've got my 2 fingers smacked together here, and I'm playing, for G, right? Here's our G. G7, we're going to play the 3rd of the G, and then the 7th. Right, so that's what it sounds like. Now, if it's a minor 7th, for instance, like say a D minor 7th, put the 7th on the bottom and the 3rd on top, right? And that's very nice because when we, most of the time, you see a minor 7th chord, it's going to lead to a 7th chord, right? So, so D minor 7 to G, you can do that way. Love it. Yeah. Or, again, if we're like another way to play it, like an A minor 7 on the bottom 2 strings of the fiddle, you could play the 3rd on the bottom and the 7th on top. A minor 7. And then we're switching to D7, right? So that, in that sense, we change the top note. Alright, so A minor 7. Right, that's so nice. Love that. It's like a hot bath to the. Right. So that's what I would choose as much as you can in a jazz setting to play. Choose the 3rd and 7th. There's really, there's like some nice little shapes. You don't really have to worry about 2 notes, right? 2 notes on the bottom 2 strings. You can pretty much get the essence of any jazz chord. 2 notes, bottom 2 strings, first position. You can find them. I guarantee it. I have not found any other, any chords that are exceptions to that. And again, I go into this in great length. Kathleen's been subject to me ranting about this for years now. She's on top of it, but it works.
That's great. All right. Well, thank you guys so much. I'm going to start to close it out here, but there's one more thing I'd like to do before we announce the winners and say our goodbyes. Is what I usually refer to as the 30-second round, but please feel free to go over 30 seconds. But in like a minute or less, Daryl, we'll start with you, then Kathleen. Just to kind of show the audience that no matter how good someone gets, they continue to learn and they always have goals. What is your goal as a musician with the new year coming up? Maybe by this time next year or 5 years from now. What are some goals? Where would you like to be?
Where would I like to be in 5 years? Or
Sure.
in the next year? Oh, I guess I'd like to put and just keep writing. I just want to keep writing, finishing songs. That's kind of a hard thing to do sometimes.
You're doing a lot of songwriting.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, doing a lot of songwriting. So
Check out Kathleen's band. It's called Twisted Pine, and you can actually, you've got that new that video, right?
Yeah.
Twisted Pine. What's the name of that song?
Bound to Do It Right.
Bound to Do It Right.
The Jersey City song for people from Jersey who are watching.
That is a great video. Kathleen is a star. Nobody knows it yet, but they will in about 15 minutes, I think. Just got the video out. Now for me, my goal is, having done a lot of stuff, my goal is to easily be able to immediately go to a flat 5 substitution lick at any point if I have a D7 chord in John Hardy or any other crazy bluegrass tune. I want to be able to immediately play an A flat 7 lick and make it sound good, you know. So maybe we should play a little John Hardy.
Oh,
and I can
okay.
work on that. And let's do it in G. Because it's got, in John Hardy, there's that long D7 that you have at the end. Right? Yeah, let me get the melody here. And 1, 2, 3. That's what I want to do. That sounded so weird, but I know there's a way to make it sound right. That's my
great.
goal.
I love it. I love it, Daryl. All right. Well, let me just say a big thank you to you guys for the entertainment and the great information. Daryl and Kathleen, that was awesome. We know you guys are at a festival right now and took time out of your day. We, as the viewers, all appreciate it. Thank you to the viewers for our awesome questions who informed where this conversation went. We came in with nothing pre-written. We just wanted to talk about whatever you guys wanted to talk about. So thank you for that. Our winners today, winners with an S since it's the holiday season, we're being generous. Mary Tanzer, who asked the great question and got us all in the Christmas spirit and got them to play that great tune. And then also Barefoot Kenny as well. You're the man, Barefoot Kenny. So both of you guys, our customer service will get in touch with you guys and let you know we're going to give you guys a 3-month extension onto your current subscriptions. So please check out the band Twisted Pine. They have a new video out called Bound to Do It Right. You're already on YouTube right now, so just check it out. And thanks again to everybody. Have a great holiday season, and we'll see you guys in the new year. Talk to you soon.
Yeah.